Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is Wednesday morning at 9:49. Hope everyone's doing good. It's been pretty nice weather. It's been pretty hot. Today's a little bit cooler, but it's been pretty awesome. Excited. This Sunday, I'm going to go see the new Superman movie. I just uploaded a video. I've been still doing videos pretty much every day. I've been changing the format a little bit. I've been kind of setting up the movies or the new shows as premieres. But I want to thank again. Big shout out and thanks to all the people who've been commenting on the videos and been getting some new subscribers and uh, love having all of the positive feedback for this crazy thing that I do, thing that I really really love doing. So just keep it on. So I'm excited to see the new Superman movie. I just uploaded a big giant show about all things Superman. I'm a huge Superman fan. It's pretty obvious at this point. I talked about I've covered for this channel. I've covered all the movies that I own that are tied to the Superman mythology. I have my favorites. There's also a lot of movies in the whole kind of world of Superman that I'm not a real big fan of. So I did a show. It's a pretty long show. It's about a 40-minute show where I just talked about all of those movies at kind of face value in the movies that I own. I've done I've done shows, individual shows on each of those movies. So those are like kind of sprinkled throughout this whole Film Fanatic channel. So check those out if you ever get a chance. But it's movies for me are something that it always, I don't know, I can see a movie 30, 40 times and it will mean something different to me or as time goes by. And I get, certain films I get something out of it differently. Maybe it's something I missed. And I think it's like, a good movie is like fine wine. It ages really well. So I always feel like there's always, a little bit of a changing perspective when it comes to really great films. So that's one of the things that I try to do with this channel too. When I talk about movies more than once or movies that I saw as a kid growing up and then now that I own on Blu-ray. So very very cool. I'm very excited about the new Superman movie. I've heard some really good things. I've heard some mixed things about it. And it's interesting now because I feel like my whole perspective around watching trailers or even watching reviews. I've been, watching some reviews, no spoiler reviews, but I have been watching reviews for this film. It's coming out. It's opening tomorrow night. I'm gonna go see it with a couple of friends on Sunday. We're gonna go to the late show. I wanted to see it Thursday because I'm, kind of chomping at the bit to see it, but it's not going to quite work out. But I'm definitely going to go see a late show on Thursday night, and so there'll definitely be a big show about about my experience around seeing Superman, the new James Gunn movie. And I've heard some mm, pretty mixed things about it. But I found I came to this weird and unexpected realization earlier this week or last week, and I've noticed it when I have gone to the movies, this past year and watched reviews before. Typically, I will stay away from a movie. I will stay if there's a movie I really want to see. I'll typically stay away from it for until I see it, and then after I see the movie, then I'll check out reviews. But I noticed that there was a little bit of a trend for me where I was like movies that I was really really looking forward to see. I would watch the reviews anyway. I wouldn't watch spoiler reviews, but I would watch reviews or like out of the theater reactions and just get a general vibe. And I notice now, I think in the past it's pretty honest to say that it would kind of affect my experience where I would be, whether it was really positive glowing reviews or, somewhat negative reviews or kind of lukewarm reviews. What critics are saying, but then also what some YouTube folks are saying, especially YouTube guys that I really like and girls. There was a time when it would kind of affect that, and then even trailers too. And I would go in with a certain kind of, oh, like for instance, if there's a movie that I'm going to go see and I hear like overwhelmingly positive reviews about something, I'm going to go into the theater. I would go into the theater thinking, okay, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. And then I'm disappointed. Now, I notice now, it doesn't really affect me now. I can kind of make my own, for what it's worth. I can make up my own mind. I feel like I'm pretty independent from that. I can separate those two. And I notice now it doesn't really affect that at all. The time, I think the biggest, when it started to kind of shift for me, it was around one of the movies, technically last year, but this year I look at it, kind of as a thing. But technically last year, the movie I was most anticipating and wanting to really see was Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, and I think that movie's a masterpiece. It's my favorite Dracula film. The same thing too. Interesting. The same thing for me around Robert Patterson's Batman. Like to me, that's the definitive version of Batman, and Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is the definitive version of Dracula and Nosferatu. And there's so many great films in both of those camps. But when I saw Nosferatu, I went into it. I was kind of chomping at the bit to see it, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna see what people are saying about it." And I watched reviews, and it was all over the place. Mostly good, but it was really all over the place. And I found myself just going into the theater, like and your average Joe, and not letting those things kind of filter into my, kind of preconceived notions, and I was able to just experience the movie, and I felt like I had a real sound experience. It didn't affect my mindset, and I was able to just have a pretty fresh experience around the movie, and that's been happening. And I've been doing that with the new Superman movie, so I don't think it's going to affect really what the outcome will be. But anyway, I also went to last Sunday. I went to Bull Moose Music, and which I have not, I haven't been there in a really long time, months, and I was kind of been in this place, been trying to save a little bit of money. Things have been pretty expensive, as we all know, and I've been trying to save a little bit of money, and those things. But last year, I was going to Bull Moose pretty frequently, like a couple times a month, and getting a bunch of movies each time. I've had to cut back a little bit, and I had heard that the prices for a lot of new releases were just getting ridiculous. And when it comes for me, to me, or for me, when I go to Bull Moose, I try to seek out the trashiest exploitation movies I can possibly find, and that's like my go-to. It's my favorite genre, so that's what I always do. But I did notice, and I was like, wow, like this is crazy. When I went to Bull Moose, and I went to the one in Bangor. The selections were okay. It was they had some really good movies, but it was a limited amount. Like I was kind of surprised when it came to seeking out like really trashy exploitation movies, horror movies, slasher movies, all those things. I was a little bit bummed out by that. There wasn't a whole lot of movies there, and I don't understand. There's always this weird flux, and I know physical media is seems to be doing well, but and again going to Bull Moose, like it's been months since I'd been, and I had heard that the prices for a lot of these boutique labels, their releases have gone up significantly, and unfortunately that's true. The movies are super expensive. Super bummed out by that. That's not going to deter me from buying these movies because I love them more than anything, and I'm a collector and I'm a big watcher of films. So I'll still buy them, of course, but it might be there might be longer gaps of time until I buy them, unfortunately. But anyway, I uh, I picked up this one movie that I had never heard of it, and I watched it the other night, and I was completely blown away. And this is a movie that has had a really just kind of an insane reputation. Where it's got this reputation of being one of the it made the video nasties list in the 80s and 81, and it's got this reputation as being one of the most brutal, gory, one of the goriest slasher movies of all time, and that is Nightmare. It was put out by Severn. This film is from 1981. And again, I don't know how I missed this movie. I've never even heard of this movie. It was put out by Severin, which again is one of the greatest labels out there. It was directed by Romano Scalvioni, who is an Italian director, and this came out in 1981. And again, this movie has this reputation as being one of the nastiest slasher movies of all time, and one of the most controversial movies of all time. And I have to say, I watched this for the first time the other night, and I was completely blown away by this movie. Everything I heard about this movie, and everything I've read about this movie, as far as the reputation around it, it's more of a thing of like I had never heard of this movie. I don't know how I missed this movie because apparently this movie was a very very big slasher movie. It came out in 1981, prime time for the slasher genre, my favorite genre of all time. And when I come across a slasher movie nowadays, especially if it's like 70s or 80s, I'm instantly buying it. But again, I grew up. I've never seen this movie until the other night. Never heard of it, but I read about it after I bought it. I read about this movie, and I saw there's tons of special features on this disc. It's unbelievable. And I read about this movie and saw that this movie had just this insane reputation about it. It was a ban. It was banned at one point in Europe, and it made the video nasties list of where these in England there was this wave of extreme conservatism, and basically movies that were deemed morally corrupt or offensive were just basically banned and taken off the market. And people, if they were caught selling them, it would be equivalent to them, selling pornography or something. And their houses were raided. People actually served, a few people actually served time in jail. I mean, it's completely fucking insane that happened. But this movie Nightmare made that list early on, and I saw that this movie had this crazy reputation. And I have to say that holy shit, this movie is one of the most gore. It's definitely one of the goriest, most. It's it lives up to its reputation. It's totally nasty. It's super raw. It's incredibly sleazy. It is the epitome of everything that I love about the slasher horror exploitation genre. It's unbelievable. And again, this is a Severin release, and they put this they knocked it out of the park with this movie. This movie is just absolutely fantastic. The transfer of this movie is absolutely gorgeous. I got this. I think it was like $20, $21, cheap compared to some other titles that they had there. But oh my god, I'm so excited that I bought this movie. I think this movie, again, like I've said many times, I've covered a ton of slasher movies on this channel. The slasher genre is my favorite genre of all time, and of course, that's a more or less a subgenre of the exploitation world. And my god, this movie is just nasty as hell. It's almost as like my favorite slasher movie of all time is Maniac, directed by Bill Luswig. This movie is almost like on par with that. Like it's kind of at that level of where it's just it's disturbing. It's it's so realistic, and it's super entertaining. The kills are incredible. The atmosphere for this film is through the roof. It's got so much suspense. It's got one of the greatest opening sequences and one of the greatest ending sequences I've seen in recent time. I mean, it totally delivers. And the other thing is, it's such a well done movie. It's I mean, again, it's very trashy. It's very sleazy, but it's actually a really good movie. Like it's actually really well constructed. And I've noticed that more and more with a lot of these films. And maybe it's just because I watch them a lot, but I think what happens is like these movies are they're exploitation movies. They're low budget. They're real trashy, and so they get this reputation from people on the outside who might not know about these movies, or know a little bit about these movies, and just kind of dismiss them as just being trash, and that they don't actually, like, they might be good for just pure entertainment value, but they actually don't have any depth. But I'm starting to really beg to differ for that, because I actually think the way this story is constructed, the acting, the cast, um, it's a unique slasher movie. It's it's a really well done film. Like, just as a film, like from a technical standpoint, it's really well done. Even though it has all those amazingly raw elements that I love. And the whole story about this is that there's this uh, this guy who committed this horrendous act when he was a kid or a teenager, where he basically kills his parents, and he basically is institutionalized, and these doctors and scientists experiment on him with these new kinds of drugs to try to change his whole his homicidal ways, and things go really wrong, and he has this resurgence of these insane inklings to want to destroy and kill people, and it goes downhill quickly. And it's very suspenseful. It's got this very great atmosphere, great characters, and you really get this this sense that this film is like a true kind of portrayal of, like, unadulterated insanity, and it's super gory as hell. It's super gory as hell. The kills are amazing. When there's a couple of scenes, I honestly think that the end sequence to this film is one of the goriest, if not the goriest scene I've ever seen in a movie. As far as sheer blood is, I mean, the blood is flowing like it's raining blood, literally, and it might be the goriest, technically the goriest scene I've ever seen in a movie. It's insane. It's totally insane. And again, the cast is incredible. It stars Baird Stafford, who plays the lead, Mick Cribben, Sharon Smith, and Danny Ronan. Killer cast. Really, really great. Again, this was a movie I never heard about before. And, it came out during, the greatest, the heyday of the slasher genre, the greatest period for me as far as horror movies. And it was directed by Romano Scavellini, who's an Italian director, um, and I don't think I've really seen any of his movies. He directed the Devastated One, Blind Fly, The Dress Rehearsal, A White Dress for Marielle, Your Honor, The Savage Hunt, Dog Tags. Yeah, he directed a whole very prolific director, but again, I have no idea who he is, so I'm gonna have to check out a lot of his films or keep my eyes peeled for if I come across any of his films. He did a lot of films in the 80s, especially. So if it's like this, if his other films are like this, holy mackerel. The other thing that is absolutely astounding about this beautiful edition, it's got 5 hours of special features, like interviews with everybody involved with the film. It's really in depth. It's super awesome. And again, that's one of the when I'm buying a movie, now it's like I'm familiar enough with the boutique labels out there, Severin, Blue Underground, Mono Macabra, that I know all the time. I have a lot of their releases. I have a ton of their movies that I've seen, the movies I grew up watching, and a lot of movies I've never seen before. Um, they knock it out of the park every time. So now, a lot of times when I see a title by one of these movies, I'll just buy it. Like I bought a new Mondo Macabro film, which is my favorite label out there, and I didn't even read it. I just snagged it right up. So that's kind of how I am now. And then the other thing too, what I'll always do is check the year, which sounds a little bit ridiculous maybe, but I check the year of when the film came out, especially if it's a movie I haven't seen, obviously. I don't typically buy. I try not to buy too many new. I mean, I love new movies. Don't get me wrong, and I love, I'm gonna go see the new Superman movie, so I love big budget, Hollywood movies and action movies and all those things, comic book movies. But my love is the underground stuff. So, and for me, it's like the late '60s, anything in the '70s, and pretty much everything in the '80s, right up until maybe um, '89, '88. That might be my cutoff point. There were a lot of great films that came out in the '90s. Not so much in the 2000s, and it's mixed after that. But as far as me being a collector in movies that I love, if I see a movie, which happens to me, I'll like come across a movie, that Severin might have put out, for instance. And again, they've put out, gem after gem. Say like I come across a movie of theirs that looks like a pretty good horror movie, and then I see that it's like from 2001 or something. I probably won't buy it. And it's only because I want to go and really check out the deep cuts. I want to find the shit that's in the toilet bowl. Like I want to find the nastiest stuff I could find. I want to find the most obscure movies, and the old shit. I'm totally old school. So that's, if I find something that fits in that kind of those decades or that time period, I'll definitely buy it. And the other big factor for me, as far as a collector, is if the that particular edition, and this is like a prime time example of it, is if it has a ton of special features, and this is insane. So, Nightmare, 1981, one of the greatest slasher movies I've seen, and just and it definitely, I have to say, it's got the goriest ending I probably in slasher history, and that's like saying a lot. Amazing film. Um, yeah, so fucking awesome. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.